Hi guys, Cheshire here. Welcome to this new module. This module is about Introduction to Office 365. Office 365 is Microsoft's most famous offering till date. It's a software as service. Office 365 is a combination of Microsoft's most famous on-premise productivity solutions like Microsoft Exchange, Microsoft SharePoint, Office Communicator, now known as Skype for Business, and thousands of other offerings, because today Microsoft is putting almost everything under Office 365 solution. In this module, we are going to have an overview of Office 365. And in later modules, we are going to sign up a trial of Office 365 so that we can start doing some practicals on it. Here is what we are going to cover in this module. Office 365 as part of Azure, evolution of Office 365, and then components of Office 365. What is Office 365 and its relationship with Microsoft Azure? So what is Office 365? Office 365 is a line of subscription service offered by Microsoft as part of Microsoft Office product line. The brand encompasses plans that allow Microsoft Office software suite over the subscription, as well as cloud-based software as service, products of business environments such as hosted Exchange servers, Skype for Business, SharePoint, among others. All Office 365 plans include automatic updates to their respective software at no additional charges, as opposed to conventional license of these programs where new version requires purchasing of a new license. So once again, this is the SaaS definition, or a cloud service provider definition, which is being reiterated here. So Microsoft Office 365 is Microsoft Office suite, which used to be originally the Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and then the technology which is needed behind it. Like for Outlook to function, you need a Microsoft Exchange server. For a Skype client to work, you need a Skype for Business server somewhere running in the cloud. For SharePoint to function or OneDrive client to function, you need a SharePoint server solution. So all these things are offered to you. And the second thing which it is saying is that there is no more upgrades or new license purchase which is required from you, opposed to the conventional licensing program, or rather how a standard licensing program is, that you have to get a license of the current version, and then when you want to upgrade, you want to get a license of the newer version of the software solution. Now, in case of cloud or Office 365, you don't have to get a newer version. Like I have mentioned before, if somebody signed up for Office 365 services in 2011 and they got Exchange 2010 installed in cloud, so today they are running on Exchange 2016 server, and they didn't have to do any kind of upgrade. They just kept paying the same amount of money to Microsoft year after year, and all the server end got updated. In fact, the Microsoft client software which was being offered to them, so Office 365 also offer you the latest subscription of Microsoft Office. So maybe you signed up with Office 2010 in 2010 or 11, then as soon as 2013 Office was released, you download and install that. As soon as Office 2016 was released, you download and install that. So you keep upgrading your Office software, and for everything you just pay a monthly subscription fees. So that is what is Office 365. Imagine Office 365 like your own IT infrastructure, where you are running multiple servers like Exchange for email, SharePoint for collaboration, Skype for Business for communication, and of course your own Active Directory. Just in this case, you didn't have to buy the servers, install these products. You just use them and make small configuration changes for your benefit. All the hard work in the server management is done by Microsoft Cloud, by Microsoft engineers. Office 365 is a service which is running in Azure data centers. The owner of these services is Microsoft itself. We just subscribe to their service. As a Microsoft 365 customer, you have no relationship directly with Azure data centers. As far as you are concerned, you are taking service from Office 365 Services Department, and they are taking services from Azure Services Department. And internally within Microsoft, I'm sure Office 365 Department is paying a cost to the Azure Data Center Service Department. However, the only relationship which a standard Office 365 admin will see with the Azure panel is that the Active Directory which is being used for managing Office 365 is Azure Active Directory. And for managing Azure Active Directory, If you have to go in certain in-depth things like multi-factor authentication or conditional policies, etc., it actually takes you to the Microsoft Azure panel to manage Active Directory instead of keeping you within the Office 365 panel. So when we will sign up our trial for Office 365, I will be able to show that to you. But other than that, a stand-up Office 365 customer won't have to go into Azure panel to do anything. Let's talk about the evolution of Office 365. With the advent of Google Apps or Google for Business back in 2008 or so, Microsoft started to feel that their loyal customers for Microsoft Exchange were jumping the ship to Google because of the convenience, and that prompted Microsoft to launch Office 365. So, like I told you that back in those days there used to be co-location facilities, and I am aware of customers who had 5 users, and just to maintain a corporate email solution they were running their own Exchange server, and they were paying us all kind of money to maintain those Exchange server and upgrade those Exchange server, back up those Exchange server, and it was definitely a huge pain for those businesses to manage those things. Now as soon as Google started offering Google for Business, as soon as they said that you can have your own corporate domain on Google and we will manage everything for you, a lot of these customers, they said, Shashar, I don't want to use this Exchange anymore. Just migrate me to Google. I will use Google. It was so simple. Google was charging them $5-7 and per month, and they can just use the services in cloud, and they didn't have to maintain their Exchange servers. So Microsoft started to see this, and that's what prompted Microsoft to get into the Office 365 business as well. Once again, this is my story and this is how I see it. Microsoft could have been planning this for long way back then. I could have known Microsoft, but Google was there before. Now, Office 365 first version was called as Business Productivity Online Services, which started back in 2008. And the first version of Office 365 had Exchange 2007 running in cloud and SharePoint 2007. So BPOS was the first version of Office 365, and it was called as Business Productivity Online Services. By the time 2007 rolled around, Microsoft quietly was offering Microsoft hosted version of Exchange, SharePoint and Live Meeting, the result of Microsoft Placeware acquisition, to first few paying customers, which included Energizer, Excel Capital and a handful of other enterprise accounts. So BPOS, I reckon Energizer and Excel Capital and some other enterprise account were the first customers for Office in cloud, or which was called as BPOS or Business Productivity Online Services back in 2008. Personally, I hear about Microsoft Office 365. Actually, I heard about BPOS somewhere around 2009 or 10. The actual Office 365 started in 2011, and fortunately I am among the few people who can say that I migrated people to BPOS as well. However, those days were not perfect. There used to be constant Outlook disconnection issues where it cannot communicate with Exchange server very well and other kind of issues. So back in those days when BPOS was there, in fact earlier times for Office 365, there used to be constant outages, and it was definitely a huge question because I was migrating a lot of customers to BPOS at that time, and but it used to become a grand question for us as well to think about that if these services are correct, or a lot of people used to question the services when the problems were there, and they were always questioning these services. It wasn't as rosy as it is today. So 28th June 2011, after the beta test that began in October 2010, Microsoft launched Office 365, originally aimed at corporate users as a successor of BPOS or Microsoft Business Productivity Online Suite. Office 365 came with some replacement. So Exchange 2007, which I have mentioned to you before as well, was a very good attempt at making a good Exchange server, but it wasn't a good Exchange server. It got upgraded to Exchange 2010, which was an amazing Exchange server. SharePoint 2007 once again got upgraded to SharePoint 2010. So I'm not a huge fan of SharePoint, but SharePoint 2007 was pretty bad, and SharePoint 2010 onwards, the world improved for SharePoint as well. I reckon Link 2010 was also offered as part of the offering with Office 365. So Link 2010 was a upgraded version of Microsoft old software, which was called as Microsoft Communicator. which was used as a chatting software in corporate environments. So Lync 2010 was also offered as a Office 365 product. Then later in 2011, Microsoft acquired Skype and all its functionality. And around 2015, Skype for Business was formed. And later, around 2015 or 16, Skype for Business got merged with Lync, offering an Office 365, and ultimately Skype for Business as a product was offered. And in early 2016, Skype for Business was offered to customers in Office 365. Microsoft Skype for Business started getting replaced with Microsoft Teams since mid 2017. So now Microsoft has moved away from Skype for Business as well. It is getting retired, and today most of the organizations have moved over to Microsoft Teams. Those people who already have an older tenant and they are using Skype for Business are still running Skype for Businesses, but most of the organizations have stopped using Skype for Business and they have switched over to Microsoft Teams, and that is for good reasons. When we will look at Microsoft Teams later in our module, you will learn about it. In fact, I believe that the latest signups of Microsoft Office 365, if you do them, then they will not even give you an option to get Skype for Business services anymore. Maybe it is completely retired from the tenant, and new tenants which are getting signed up, they will not get Skype for Business. It's only Teams which they are getting. And guys, it's for good. Teams is an amazing software. Teams is the reason for the growth of Microsoft in the recent past few years. Apart from what I have discussed above, Microsoft has added so many solutions as part of Office 365 now that it is almost impossible to keep track of them. So apart from what I have discussed above, Microsoft has added so many solutions as part of Office 365 now that it is almost impossible to keep track of them. Like there are Teams, there is Skype for Business, there is Planner, there is Sway, there is Dell, there is Video, there is Stream, there is Microsoft Forms. There are so many products. So refer to the below article to learn about the offerings which Microsoft have now. So let's quickly go to this article. Alright guys, so this is an article which talks about a lot of services which are getting offered in Office 365. So you can go to these links, and these links themselves have further articles about the offerings which are available. So I'll quickly go through. There is like Exchange Online Protection, which is the archiving. So there used to be a product called as Enterprise Vault, which we used to do archiving, but Exchange came built in with the archiving solution. So archiving is typically that you can your primary mailbox shouldn't get too heavy, otherwise it becomes a bit difficult to manage with it. So what we do is that we go ahead and archive all the old emails which we don't use, and we can create rules for that archiving process, that emails older than 1 year should get archived. So this way all the old emails start going into a secondary mailbox for you, and your primary mailbox can remain lighter and more flexible. It's not a huge problem now, because honestly speaking, the hard drives have improved so much, and the mailbox exchange server software itself has improved so much. So sizes of mailbox are not huge issue, but believe me, I have seen organizations where they use Outlook mailboxes as a CRM solution, and a huge company which I have worked for, they use it for their customer to send their all identity documents to that shared mailbox in Office 365, and as a result of that, the size of that mailbox is currently 1.5 terabyte. So 1.5 terabyte kind of mailboxes, no technology can save these size mailbox. It is the greatness of Office 365, and and Microsoft as a whole that they support them with that size of mailbox. Otherwise, it is inhuman to have that size of mailboxes. And in such situation, archiving comes really handy, because what we can do is that we can keep the primary mailbox light and we can move all the data to the secondary mailbox. So archiving is there, Microsoft Teams is there, OneDrive is there, SharePoint is there, Workplace Analytics is there, Power BI is there, Microsoft Project is there, Microsoft Visio is there, Yammer is like a internal Facebook for your organization, which is it's there. Microsoft Business Voice subscription, so these are like EPBX kind of a subscriptions which you have, and Dynamic 365 is there, and there are a lot of products which are there. So this is showing a very small list of the product which Office Microsoft has to offer. So yep, so there are a lot of products which are being offered in Office 365. So this is the next topic, but this slide is really good because you can see here that what all products are getting offered. So this is a typical screenshot from Microsoft 365. So Dynamics 365 is there, Stream is there, Visio is there, Mail, Calendar, SharePoint, OneDrive used to be the standard thing, People, Task. Now Delve is there, Forms is there, Power Apps is there, OneNote is there, Sway is there, Power BI, Flow, Project Online, Planner, Staff Hub, Booking, Yammer, Newsfeed. Believe me guys, every night when you sleep, they add 2 or 3 more components to it. So it is becoming a problem, honestly, the number of components they keep adding to it. Okay, so this section is about the components of Office 365, and I would segregate Microsoft 365 components in few parts. So there are productivity components like the standard Microsoft Exchange which is there, SharePoint is there, Teams is there, because they help the people to do productive work and be more productive. So these are productivity components. I'm going to explain what is SharePoint and management of SharePoint and those things in the modules which are about SharePoint. We have some modules, but for now just remember that it is a productivity solution. Then there are compliance components. So now organization not only want a lot of productivity, there are legal requirements around organization. They want to keep their data secured. They want their data to be always available to you for legal issues and for otherwise issues. There has to be certain security compliance which needs to be available. The security of data has to be very thoroughly preserved. So a lot of compliance issues are there. So Microsoft offer various compliance solutions. I just mentioned 2 here, but there are a lot more compliance solutions which are there. So e-discovery is there, data loss prevention is there. Then there are a lot of security components which are available. The IRM, information security management, or information rights management. You have got document labeling, you have got multi-factor authentication, which basically means that when you log into Office 365, an SMS comes to your phone or you approve the login via an authenticator app. Conditional policies are there. I'll explain what conditional policies are. So these are the security components. Then there are various varied productivity offerings like Power BI is there, Flow is there, Power Apps is there. Once again, I showed you all these offerings: Sway, Planner, To Do, Booking, Staff Hub. So what Microsoft is doing nowadays, honestly, is that they just buy a company. Like recently, they bought a company from India. It's called as Kaizala, and it basically is a Marathi word, an Indian language, which means what's up. So Kaizala is a copy solution for WhatsApp, and that's what it actually means as well. And yeah, so Microsoft has recently acquired Kaizala, and it is being offered as part of Office 365 services. So yeah, a lot of components. What they are doing is they are buying small companies, usual companies, and then they offer those services to you for free or included with your basic license. So a lot of productivity offerings keeps getting added to Microsoft components. I'm sure there are so many more, and like I have mentioned to you before, that every night when you sleep, they add a few more. It's impossible for a person to be an expert on all of these. However, if you know your fundamentals correct, then it can definitely help you to get expert in these technologies, basically in 2 ways. So how the fundamental knowledge can help you? It will help you to identify which components you should learn or know. Like Power BI, it is a business reporting software to create reports. As an IT engineer or administrator, you should not have to be expert in Power BI. and you should understand it clearly. So don't start spending time trying to figure out the Power BI dashboards, etc. Yeah, it's very good if you want to, and it's a very helpful tool when you want to do reporting, etc. But when you reach to that level, then you can use this tool. But as an IT engineer, yeah, knowing Power BI and becoming an expert in Power BI is not something which you may want to do. So that's how you can learn that it's not related to your technology. Second, the components which you should learn will remain around the basic fundamental, which you have already learned, like IP, network, storage, Exchange, and Active Directory. And whatever new components will come in, you will be able to relate to them because they will be built around these same technologies. Like I say, that most of these new components, they are a new way of saying the old things, or they have simplified the old problems. If you understand network, IP and storage and these things, you will understand the problem very well, and then you will also be able to understand their solution very well. So most of these solutions are like that, and if you know your fundamentals, you can understand them very easily. Office 365 and Azure offerings are quite a handful, and I would suggest you to start low and learn other stuff on demand as needed. So once again, don't get perplexed and confused into so many offerings which are there in Office 365. None of the businesses are using all these things, and it will take time for you to understand these things. I would suggest you to begin with the standard things which most of the people are using, like Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, because 99% of the world only needs these things. There is only 1% of the people who are using higher technology. So become useful for 99% of the people. As part of this training, I'm going to explain you Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, Teams, and also multi-factor authentication, conditional policies, and e-discovery. As I know, these are some highly used components of Office 365, and you should know these things so that you can get the jobs which you are looking for. Alright, so here is what we covered in this module. We understood Office 365 as part of Azure. I told you the evolution of Office 365, how BPOS came into play, and then how Office 365 came in, and then how Link got upgraded to Skype for Business, and now Skype for Business is getting retired for Teams. Then we discussed the various components which are there in Office 365, the various offerings of Office 365 and how you are related to them, and then the offerings which we are going to study in this training. So this is it for this module, and here is what you should do. You should read more about Office 365 evolution and find out the list of Office 365 products available today, including compliance, security, and productivity offering. So maybe just make a table and put down the list of the products which are available under each label, and maybe read about them, because all the products in compliance and security are pretty much used by us to maintain the security and compliance of a company. However, productivity softwares are a hit and miss, because sometimes these softwares will be more for like people to create dashboards or flows, or Power Apps are something which is not exactly something which you might be able to do from the get-go. Power Apps and Flow are definitely something which is going to be highly in demand in future, but they are more of automation solutions which you can use to automate certain tasks. This is not the time to learn them. So just identify your battle and fight with them, not go in all the directions. And other than that, I'm always available to you. Ask me if you are supposed to learn a particular technology. I would rather say that a lot of technologies will become useful for you when you go in the direction of specialization in future, not in your current state, if you are just planning to start with a job. That's it, guys, for this module, and I would see you in the next module soon.